try to hit live again. I think we're live on YouTube right now. I shall go over and find out as my whole computer probably crashes. Maybe I'll put a slide. I'll put a slide up while we do this.
Are we live?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back. Appreciate those who were able to bear with us here. It's a lot of heavy technology as we try to simultaneously stream out to you, incorporate Skype, and be on a draft board. It is not easy. So for those that are jumping back into the live stream, thank you, Garcia. Of course, we're going to spend some time going through some drafts and having some conversation on rating drafts. But what has stood out to you, if any, thing has stood out to you, or if you want to just talk about your own draft, really, the floor is yours.
I would say what has stood out to me right off the bat was the selection of Austin Eckler and Antonio Gibson in the first and second round by our boy, all aboard the baby bus. To me, I don't know if that trade right now is one that I would have made if I knew that's what I was going with. But that's just me, so that kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. They're both solid running backs, but when you had a choice of, well, the way things form now, Zeke Elliott, Kamara, I really hope Austin Eckler, lives up to the potential on that one. So that's something that kind of made my head scratch a bit. I think Regulators really is winning the draft along with Waverman. Regulators grabbing not only Dalvin Cook, but Keenan Allen. He's got Lamar. I thought he went a little bit early with Mike Davis, but I think, still a solid pickup there. And then Waverman, you might as well give him the trophy now. Alvin Kamara, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Russell Wilson. I feel like it's the same team last year that he had. I mean, the man is like playing a dynasty league under our nose. And then again, we always have to have one of those head-scratching moments. And I just want to thank Wristband Chiefs within his roster there, going 1-2 with Kelsey and Clyde. And then you picking J.K. Dobbins. I guess you don't get alerts. Maybe you should change your thing on your phone. But the guy's carted off the field with an apparent leg injury. Anytime a cart shows up on a football field, and if it's not a golf cart, it's not a good thing. So that's one that I want to call it a wasted pick. But, one that, I guess another head scratcher for me. So all in all, it's I don't even know if I'm supposed to be picking now. I'm clearly in a little world.
You're good.
I missed my pick. So, Michael Thomas got selected by Regulators. He's injured too. So Will Fuller was suspended. I don't know if he's coming back. Is he planning to come back? What's his suspension?
I think it's not a bunch of games, I don't think. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but it's not a bunch of games, I don't think. I
see PTT just grab Mozart, so that was the guy that I had my eye on. The running back tiers, the drastic drop from tier 1, tier 2 to everything below is, you might as well suit you up and call your number out on the field. That's how bad it is.
Pretty close to it. So a lot of things for you based on everything you just said. A lot.
You have nothing.
A lot to like with Regulators. So I'm looking here for him to be able to get Lamar Jackson in the 5th. I think it was the 5th. And to your point, Michael Thomas. I don't know what we're going to get out of Michael Thomas this year, but Michael Thomas in the 9th round. Why not at this point, right? If you believe in Jameis and you believe in the vertical passing game, and you think that he'll come back at some point and be 70% of himself. We don't know everything. The injury, I was making the joke the other day. The injury kind of has a little Scottie Pippen feel to it, so I'm not sure what he's doing, what cards he's holding. Will he play this year? Is he doing something weird? I don't know. But at the 9th round, why not? Why not take the chance? And then we'll address it now because I think there's still only 1 or 2 people in the stream, so I don't have to. Yeah, the J.K. Dobbins thing, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it. I was like, hey, this guy fell to the 5th. That was the lowest round I've considered taking him. Unfortunately, it was not something that I noticed, and it's on me. You could argue, that there's a lot on my plate on draft day, a lot on my plate production-wise. You could argue that. I'm not going to argue that. I'm saying that you could legitimately argue that. That's fine. But I will say, maybe I just wanted to give you a free 5th round pick. I basically did that last year in my 6th round, so I'm giving you a free 5 this year.
I love the Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins duo. I think that is just going to burn. I don't want to talk about the running backs, but Adams and Ridley were too good to pass up early on, and I had said to myself that I am going to look at still being heavy one way or the other based on the way the draft is going, and that was the decision made. We will see how it nets out. But being able to get those two guys kind of put me forward. And Robert Woods was always, in every mock draft I ever did, no matter where I went in the first 2 picks, was always my 3rd round.
because I like the Rams that much this year. I forget who took Cooper Kupp, but I just like the Rams that much this year. So that was where some of that was. But again, I mean, Waverman, you're right. It looks like a very strong draft to this point. I'm on the clock now. Actually, I can't pontificate further. I'll leave it to you to think about.
You take your time. The other one that I guess we didn't. We went offline when this all happened, but Shipwreck going Najee Harris and Jonathan Taylor. Names that you and I have discussed with some other fellow league owners. There's some risk but huge reward. Najee is definitely going to be the lead back there. I don't think he has any competition. That offense for the Steelers, there's been some question marks on the offensive line, but so many weapons. And it looks like Ben's got his arm strength back based on the last performance in, I think, week 2 in preseason. Jonathan Taylor is part of that three-headed monster of running backs, which I know kind of probably scared you off based on choosing him or not. But he's got to be the number one guy. I think Marlon Mack has a history of getting injured, as I've experienced. And then Hines is more of a third down running back. So I think it's going to either play out well or it's not going to play out well for Shipwreck on those two running backs. I think there's more upside than there are question marks, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that kind of wonder about it too. And then, Amari Cooper, I think, is going to be the steal of the draft. I've experienced the downfalls of Amari Cooper. I think Waverman has been on that bus, but everything I've read is that Amari is a solidified, 1 or 2 on the wideout scene. So Kyle Pitts going all aboard the baby bus, the rookie tight end. Or the baby buses. I think he's got the youngest football team out there.
Well, you're on the clock, by the way. So you may want to.
I'm on the clock.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'm on the clock.
I'll take it back to you.
Now, what you just did was disrespectful on so many levels. Because I don't think this guy that you just selected before me is even going to make your roster, even to show up.
I will tell you this. I do not want Devin Singletary. This is what happens when you draft a guy in the 5th round that had his knee carted off without him tonight. And so I have no choice. I should start somebody probably in week 1 in that RB2 spot. So that's where I got to go, and that's all I can do. Oh, you already picked. What are you? You are a maniac. Oh, Ronald Jones. Okay, that's solid too. I mean, we're in that zone. We're in that area now where Ronald Jones and Devin Singletary are, what they are.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
I guess I should have picked Zach Moss, and that would have been fun to see.
That would have been. You might still be able to. I'm gonna go line by line. We're gonna start with Waverman because I know he's in here. So at least talk about someone who's listening, as well as the fact that I had the chance to scroll to his draft while you were talking to. You can't fault him for really anywhere he went early on in this draft with Kamara and Metcalf. Justin Jefferson, another really solid pick. I was surprised that he fell where he did. Lockett is an interesting one because there's a stack there that it's funny because he lived and died by that Seahawks passing game that he lamented last year because they ran the ball more than he would have liked, and it's funny that he's going to put his poker chips on those two guys again. In Ja'Marr Chase, it's a situation where it's not been a good camp by any stretch of the imagination. This is one of two things. This is a situation where it's not a good camp, and then 8 weeks from now, we forget that we said it wasn't a good camp, and he comes back, and he's the guy that we hoped he would be, and he's able to play with Joe Burrow and all that other stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Or it's not a good camp because it's not a good camp, and he's not playing well, and whatever. But at that point, it's your second flex, and I'm sure that there are other opportunities there. It's funny because Greatest on Paper and Waverman know this from me last year. I will forever have a blind spot as it relates to Detroit Lions running backs since Barry Sanders. I have no faith in DeAndre Swift. Everyone else does, and so far be it from the guy who took a guy with a season-ending injury, probably, in the 5th round to criticize anyone else's picks in that area. But I'm not a DeAndre Swift fan, and I hope to eat my words. I just don't know where Detroit will be. I don't know about Goff. I don't like the coaching situation. A lot of things I don't like about Detroit right now. It scares me away from picking guys over there. But yeah, that's Waverman. Let's pivot over to Greatest on Paper, who also I believe is at least in the chat, and it's easy for us to talk about people that we know are there. I'm going to start with this, Garcia, if you are able to think about it, because I think you will be. Jalen Hurts I think 5th or 6th round. Let's call it. He was on the swing, so let's call it the 6th. I think it was the 5th. So big time believer in Jalen Hurts to draft him that early. Among other quarterbacks, I don't know off the top of my head. I think Russell was still there. There's some big names there. Thoughts on Jalen Hurts? Is he a breakout guy for you this year? Were you upset that he was taken where he's taken?
No, I was not.
And there you have it. That's really all you need to know. Saquon in the 2nd round is amazing. I mean, again, we don't know for sure, but to get Saquon where
again,
Yep, he cut out. He'll come back.
People have seen before. Then.
Yep, go ahead. I got you. Go ahead.
All right, so if he gets the Saquon Barkley of before, he's got to steal the draft. I mean, and I toyed. I went back and forth, but I wanted to stick with my strategy of going heavy wideouts. I'm over this running back situation, and just felt like I'm better off kind of focusing my time and attention on the wideouts, and that's why I went with Hill and Diggs. But if he has Barkley at his prime, so to speak, of 2 years ago, whenever it was, it seems like so long ago. Chubb Barkley tandem there is something that you do not want to sleep on.
Yeah, and he's the all upside team everywhere else. DJ Moore, I think, is somewhat established. Judy's an upside guy. There's a belief that Judy will connect with Bridgewater this year, and I could see that. Gaskin, I think, has hopefully a safe floor based on committee. But you got Waddle right there, another Dolphin. Sermon, high upside guy. I think he just drafted Callaway. Did he also draft Justin Fields? I'm just now. Did this just happen? Did he go Jalen Hurts in the 6th round and Justin Fields in the 10th? What is? There's a lot happening. I have talked to him probably more than anyone else about their draft. I am very surprised by that, I will say. That's interesting.
Again, it goes back to we have to figure out who's making the calls here, because that doesn't seem like a decision a certain individual would make. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. That takes the lead in terms of head scratching right there.
I am surprised. I liked the Hurts pick. I did. And I think he was right where if you love the guy and you're on the anchor and your next picks aren't until 7 and 8, yeah, he's probably not going to be there. So you take Jalen Hurts. With the other high upside guys he has, Justin Fields is bold, I will say. I'm not certain, what else is really there right now. We're probably all in the high upside category, but just another high upside quarterback. Maybe he hopes they both pop and he has a trade opportunity there. But it's an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one. Let's talk about you, because you're going to be on the clock, and I'm sure you want us to talk about you. Dak Prescott, if he stays healthy, I think is a top 3 guy this year. I think he was ranked in my top 3. I would never draft him. That's the irony with Zeke and Dak. But I don't.
It's amazing you go that path and you choose that path. And I think one of these days it's really going to come back to haunt you when you have that opportunity to just bite the bullet and go with a Cowboy or an Eagle or Redskin that can kind of propel you. Like, does this mean, too, if these guys, like a Cowboy or a Redskin or an Eagle are on the waiver wire, you will not bid for them?
This is correct. You know this about me already. It's the Washington football team, by the way. They changed their name like 2 years ago. What's wrong with you? Yes, no, you know that. You know this about it. Although I will say this, I will use the opportunity to say that I thought All Aboard the Baby Bus, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, was also an anti-NFC East player of rival teams. That is what I remember him telling me once. Anyway, I don't know if he's on this stream to defend himself. I hope he is. I'll say it right to his face. Because it was interesting to me to see Antonio Gibson drafted in the, I want to say, 2nd round. Interesting that he's rooting for Washington football team members, but I digress. I will also say that the Eckler pick is a high upside pick there, and wherever he was, 10. And I love all Rams receivers this year. If you could get Woods or Cobb, I was joking that I would actually have picked them both if I could, and I might not have been lying. I might have done it. Would have saved me from J.K. Dobbins. I think I'm on the clock, and so if you want to talk, it's going to you.
That's exact loss, so that we can have that friendly competition to see who gets more carries for the Buffalo Bills. I'm assuming it'll be Devin over Zach, but I think you were going on about those who are kind of geared towards sticking to their teams and not picking their enemies. I for one will never understand that, because the object of the game is to win. And if you have to have a New England Patriot or an Eagle or a Niner or a Ram or a Seahawk help you, and you're a fan of the other team, you don't talk about it. You just kind of let it be. So it doesn't make sense to me. But you guys are just you're hardcore fans, and where I'm a Jet fan, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because they stink. So it's easy. Can we go to Sweet Home Chicago because he landed Zeke, and then I don't love the Hopkins selection over Metcalf. Montgomery, I guess when it's all said and done, I mean, he had, I think, CeeDee Lamb there for him, and I think he even had Robert Woods. Like, I'm surprised he went with Montgomery. Evans is a solid pick. Andrews is at least a top 5 tight end. Your guy, OBJ, has landed on Sweet Home Chicago's roster, so we've had some history with OBJ. It doesn't always turn out well.
I mean,
still has he picked a quarterback yet?
By the way, I just picked one that you may be interested in. But I will also, before we get there, Sweet Home Chicago, having another phenomenal draft, if I do say so myself. Excuse me. Zeke and Montgomery. I forget where Montgomery was. Probably the 4th round he took him. Maybe it was the 3rd. But either way, I mean, it was a good value for where he got him. Zeke, we already talked about that alive. Hopkins and Evans, I mean, Evans has got a little bit of uncertainty week to week. But, high octane offense. At the end of the year, when you count up total points, he's going to be there. He's going to be somewhere in the top 20. Hopkins, obviously. And then, I was actually higher on Mark Andrews this year than a lot of other people were. And there was a round that I was willing to get him. I forget where Sweet Home Chicago took him, but it's a great pick because I do think there is only a few top 4, top 5 tight ends really to pick from, and I think he actually could be beyond the 4-5 range this year. I think he could be in the 2-3 range this year. Harris and Cooks are a little more nebulous. Beckham is one of those high upside ones too, where it's like, look, if you can, this guy was a venerable wide receiver 1 for a few years. If you can get him back to anything close, it's a steal where you're drafting the guy.
Can we go back to your pick for Trey Lance? have they made Trey the starting quarterback?
No, they haven't. No, I think Garoppolo will start. I think it's a matter of time that Lance starts. So I'll tell you, because you want to know, and it's a reach. I'm a little concerned because there's a sociopath out there drafting all of them. So I was going to wait another round or 2 for Trey Lance, but then Crazy McCrazyface goes and drafts Justin Fields in the 10th round after drafting 3 other quarterbacks, and I'm starting to think maybe he's just going to take all the mobile quarterbacks this year and just have a horde fest. So let me just go get this guy before another maniac goes and gets him. So if Greatest Show on Paper, if their biggest mistake so far has been taking 2 quarterbacks in 10 rounds, they at least led to me reaching a round or 2 earlier than I wanted for Trey Lance. But I'll tell you right now, and I know you don't care. Trey Lance is my QB5 this year. Trey Lance is my QB5, adjusted for games played, because I don't think he will start right away. But I think he will start eventually, and I think he will be a top 5 quarterback this year. Run the tape back when I'm wrong. That's your face. Okay, cool.
I mean, I don't get it. Like, I understand the concerns you have, but I don't get it.
Well, this is
you're going off of a guy who may not be named the starter. He's eventually going to play.
I do believe that. Yes. That's all I got. That's all I got for you. Listen,
you proved us all. Listen, you were right about Mahomes. You were right about Lamar. You were wrong about Nathan Jones.
Okay, please don't. His name is Daniel. Look, I'm not telling you that I have a feeling like with Mahomes and Lamar were special. I think I will chase those fantasy seasons for the rest of my life. I had feelings about them that I haven't felt that way about quarterbacks before since. However, if you want to ask me who the quarterback is that I'm most excited about, was most excited about during the draft, and is most excited about now, it's 100% Trey Lance. I am excited about him not just because of the skills that he may or may have, because he's a little unpolished and he hasn't played in a year. I just think he's in the best situation by far. I don't know for sure some of these other high upside quarterbacks people keep talking about. The mobile ones, I'm sorry. Because I think Ship picked Matthew Stafford, and I thought that was great in 8th or 9th round, because I think there's a guy too that should explode in this offense. I really like the 49ers offense, and I really like what Shanahan does with his quarterbacks. If he starts him, I like him a lot. I don't know when he will, but I like him a lot. That's enough about me. Let's look at someone else's draft. How's that? Let's look at someone else's draft. Because no one wants to talk about me. You know, let's shift gears. We'll shift gears. We'll shift gears to well, let's throw up Shipwreck for a second. Shipwreck to me, high upside guy right away with Najee Harris. Jonathan Taylor falling to the second round is phenomenal. You could actually flip those picks, right? You could put JT at 11, and you could put Harris at 14, and maybe you feel better about the two. But either way, they're great for where they are at. People are high on McLaurin this year. The tough part, and I feel this too a little bit with a few of these other guys, Cooper and Claypool for him. You're a part of a very expansive offense with a lot of mouths to feed. There will be days where Claypool is the guy, and there will be days where Claypool has 2 points. There will be days where Cooper's the guy. There will be days where Cooper gets 0 receptions. I'm looking at this comment that I'm going to put on the screen. That matters. It matters. Adjusted for games played. Yes, because if you can muddle for 3 or 4 weeks with a streamer, then adjusted for games played. It's a fair statement. Anyway, it's tough, and if I had not gone, I forget which round he went. Deontay Johnson was on my list, high on my list. I was a little concerned though with the fact that it is a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, and if you want to tell me that Najee is going to explode, and you want to tell me that the tight end might get some target share, and you want to tell me that Deontay Johnson's the guy, but that Chase Claypool's still involved, and that Juju is going to have 80, 90 catches based on his position, I will respond to you and say something has to be wrong there. And I'm not smart enough to know who, but something, probably more than one thing, is wrong, because you can't, unless you're going to break every record known to man, you can't sustain that level of offense. Even the Kansas City Chiefs have 3 viable stars in that offense to start. So the concern you could have is week to week, what will you get? And whether you will be in situations where you just don't know whether to start the guy because he might go 2, he might go 25. I don't know. Thoughts for you?
All valid points. All valid points. At least he didn't get a guy who was carted off the field earlier today.
I really hate that. I do. I'm not happy. And I'm going to be hoping that he was precautionary. And I'm not going to tell you that I knew that it was happening because I had no idea. And I will say that I was on a text chain with a couple of league members, not going to name them, even though they're probably the two. They are the two on this stream, so they're hearing this. And I had made a joke that I was going to take JK, and interestingly, neither one of them provided comment on JK's situation until after he was picked. And all is fair in love, war, and fantasy football. But that will be a moment not forgotten when additional conversations are had in the fantasy sphere. But it is what it is, and it's on me at the end of the day. Tony Pollard, a solid pick for Waverman. Not surprised he went him. As well as Marlon Mack for regulators. I as long as Mack makes the team, I actually do think that he's at least got handcuff value. Maybe a little bit of standalone value for the Colts as well. Garcia, any other thoughts? Any other teams? Any other players that surprised you?
We should look at the team that made the first pick overall earlier today, which seems like days ago. The route they went with McCaffrey and then Darren Waller in the second round. And I guess he was a top 2 tight end. Carson, I do like. I surprised Julio fell as much as he did. I had him as one of my targets, but there's just something about Julio. I just can't go through it anymore. Deontay Johnson, Aaron Rodgers. He went Rodgers and Brady. So he's trying to bring some Super Bowl pedigree to his roster there. So, when you have 2 quarterbacks, especially these guys, you run into a situation where then you've got to make a difficult choice, especially if they're both having solid seasons. Who do you pick? And it's good just to have one that's really good instead of having 2 that's really good.
I agree with you there. And there's still some interesting names on the board, and this is about the time of the stream that I get in trouble for naming names, so I won't name names. But there's still some value here on this board that I find interesting. I'm looking around to see if there's who is left even to draft a quarterback here. I'm literally clicking through right now.
You got Matt Ryan still out there, Kirk Cousin.
Is it just
surprised you didn't go for Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, Sweet Home Chicago. Daniel. Okay. I think everyone has at least one quarterback at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, one of us doesn't have a starting one, but neither here nor there. I'm on the clock, so you can.
Cincinnati going with the future rookie of the year.
And who is that?
Elijah Moore at the Jets. He's got a lot of play. In terms of quarterbacks, Roethlisberger, Mayfield, Fitzmagic. So you have something to fall back on with your next pick.
Well, I'm not picking a quarterback. Spoiler alert, no.
I mean, why did you just get Garoppolo so you just kind of have a 50-50?
No, thank you. No, thank you. Appreciate that, but no, thank you. That's awesome.
I don't think you do. Noah Fant's out there. Jonas Smith. I mean, Ingram's out there for you.
Yeah. You know how close I want to be to a giant skill player. I don't think. I think you do know, and it's not in a good place. Definitely not in a good place.
What you're saying is you're not going to take Sterling Shepard.
I am not going to take Sterling Shepard. That's true. Yes.
Oh man, riveting content right now.
Well, it really is actually. You're right.
And you should just flip a coin. That's what GSOP does. Why don't you ask Waverman to make the selection for you?
No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Just so you know, Trey Lance would still be available now.
You don't know that for sure. That's the thing. You don't know that for sure. But appreciate you saying that.
See, you're going to possession receiver, Jamison Crowder. Good deal. I dig. I'm not going to give you a hard time for that one.
Well, I like.
Oh. I'm listening.
Sorry. I was going to say, I was a much bigger Corey Davis fan based on the connection they seem to have.
Yeah,
I loved. I think he went to PTT, and I thought that was a great pick. Yeah, you're on the clock, so I'm sorry. I'll spare you additional context.
I'm listening.
No, Corey Davis was, and actually, I'll go to PTT. So PTT maybe surprised a few people with Derrick Henry in that second overall slot. But again, I think you're splitting hairs there because we're talking about really a coin flip probably between those 3 or 4 guys. The tough part. So let's talk about the good. Like I said, I loved Corey Davis. I loved Kittle. I think maybe was that his 3rd round pick because I think he went Mahomes in the 2nd. Maybe I can't even keep track anymore. I'm forgetting. Somewhere in the range were those 2 guys, and Mahomes obviously he's a plug and play quarterback and potentially just a QB1, maybe 2, 3, but somewhere in the top 3 you'd expect him to be if he's healthy. Kittle I was very high on. Kittle was the one tight end that I might have broken my rule of not drafting tight ends early. The tough part will be Juju's possession receiver. So I lived this last year. It's just very unless he gets his touchdown every other game, it's just a very low ceiling for him every week. But Godwin might counteract that some. And then you've got Mostert there. I don't know who's going to win the job, and Trey Sermon is another guy in San Francisco that I don't know for sure, but if it is Mostert doing what he did last year for some period of time and the year before maybe even, I can't even keep track anymore with these guys.
It was last year where it was consecutive years, but again the injury bug would come back to haunt him.
Yeah,
so,
agreed.
I lived it last year. I was on a tear. I was headed for an undefeated season.
Hey, well, I don't want. Okay, cool. Philip Lindsay over there too, by the way. Nice. I know you. Who doesn't want to run back in the Houston Texans right now? That is a great offense to get a piece of. I'm sure you felt that way.
You take shots, and you're more than welcome to. But at this time, I'm just trying to fill a roster with running backs. Well, I mean, he's going to be the number 1 guy.
Sure.
So that I look at that as potential carries, output. I'm looking for more than 0 points for my running backs, and Philip Lindsay, I think, can provide that.
It's a fair point, and again, We shall see. There's so many things we think we know at this stage, and we absolutely don't. Ship going Devontae Parker, who was on the board for a very long time. It's a very crowded Dolphins skill player set these days, and I can understand why Parker fell where he did. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about what his role will be. But where do we in here? The 11th round? I mean,
we are
toss-up situation.
Yeah.
You're in toss-up land at this point, where you're hoping for guys that elevate in the depth chart, guys that end up having rapport. Maybe you're in that range where you start thinking about some running backs that, whether due to injury or due to performance pop later in the year, that's the kind of range you're in at this point. So if you look at that, Parker, Gage kind of fits those descriptions. I loved Jakobi Meyers. So again, I feel like we're jinxing the guy, but Sweet Home Chicago, offhand, is my favorite draft again. Jakobi Meyers looks like he is the number one receiver in New England. Now, with Cam Newton, that may not be a good thing because I don't know you trust anybody in that offense. But if it's Mac Jones, or maybe if it's a Cam that we saw earlier in the year last year or the year before, Jakobi Meyers is a steal in the 11th round, I think.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out who's the other receiver there that's been giving him headaches.
Well, Waddle is out there, and I think Fuller is on suspension. So there's a lot. And then you got Tua. You're also taking a bet that Tua is going to take a step forward because last year Tua throwing the football was not a thing. So you're taking a lot of bets with Devontae. But again, we're in the 11th round here, so it's like it's worth a shot. The guy was like in the third, fourth, fifth round for a few years there. He's clearly shown he can do it if he has touches. Oh, I lost you. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Have we talked about Cincinnati?
We I don't know that we have, and that's a good pivot. We shall. He stole Tyler Boyd for me one pick before I wanted him, so kudos to him for that. Aaron Jones, I'm not going to say great, The Joe Mixon. So there's a lot of Cincinnati Bengals on there right now. As a Cincinnati fan, I think that's great. I wonder if that's sustainable, and I think maybe he may look to pivot out of that because you've got Mixon, you've got Higgins, and you've got Boyd. I can argue for all three. I don't know that I can argue all three collectively on one team. That's a tough one. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is the Cowboy receiver to roster if you're going to pick one. Again, it's the same situation we described it with Pittsburgh, where one week it'll pop, the next week maybe he won't. But if I had to pick one guy, I would probably pick CeeDee Lamb. Your thoughts on his draft?
I'm kind of right on par with you. I think CeeDee Lamb is the one guy that I had circled around. If I was going to have a chance to grab him, I would have on the back end there. But to your point, it seemed like he had Kyler. Did he have Murray last year too? Seems like he kind of goes with the. Yeah,
he must. And again, it worked out for him. Worked out for him last year. So why not?
I'm a fan of that Kyler Murray guy. I think Arizona's offense again. I think you probably take the same page as I look at these offenses now more and more of like who's going to have the most potent offense. That's why I went the Bills. I went obviously Chiefs. I went Vikings. The running back game. I think Irvin Smith is going to definitely run a wide open offense. Dallas with Prescott. So I think if you kind of look at the top 10 teams that are supposed to have some big offensive outputs, that's you're smart in kind of looking at those guys. But to your point, then there's a lot of mouths to feed on some of these teams that could kind of haunt you when it's said and done. So it's at the end of the day, if you pick less and less Jets, you're better.
It's a fair point too. So here we sit. We are, and you're. By the way, you're on the clock in a minute, and it shows that you're going to auto draft, but you're probably just logging back in just to make sure. There you go. You're good. It's interesting here in these rounds. We always do this. It feels like no man's land. It feels like there's nothing here. You're reaching for this or that. And then we look back at the end of the year and we say, my goodness, this guy was the 12th round. The Josh Allen last year in the 11th round is the first one that comes to mind. But there's been others where, we're kind of just sleepwalking. But then 3 or 4 weeks from now, certainly by the end of the season, we look back and we're like, aha! Turns out we were missing on some things that we did not notice. So definitely definitely rounds to look for, even though we don't know for sure what we're looking for now. All aboard the baby bus on the clock. And did we talk about him yet? We did. We talked a little bit about him. Kyle, your boy, Kyle Pitts, though, a tight end snag for him. And I knew he would get Devonta Smith, so that's not surprising to me either. But Pitts, probably the high upside guy there that at least he hopes to be based on the round that he drafted him. And then we talked about regulators briefly. I think you're on the clock here, so I'll keep just chatting away.
I sure am.
We talked about regulators.
Any recommendations?
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is available, so you should probably take him.
Yeah, I think he is. That's good. I'll even for your third quarterback.
Appreciate that. No. Let the record show. I've got one. So I mentioned it before. I don't even know if he's on the stream, and so he may not hear me compliment him. But Lamar Jackson, 5th round, remarkable value. Michael Thomas, you get anything out of him for the 9th round, that's great too. Dalvin, you can't say anything about. Fell to him in the 3rd spot overall. AJ Brown, I'm not as high on AJ Brown, but I'm usually wrong about this stuff, so I mean probably solid. Mike Davis could be. Here's another guy that's like he's getting them in these rounds where like next year we might say, "Ha, Mike Davis, what a bust," or Mike Davis ends up being a top 15 running back with the volume alone. It's possible. And I love Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was another one that I was hopeful might fall to me in that 3, maybe even 3rd round range, but I assumed he would go earlier, and he did. You know, the question marks are, Golladay, as a Giants fan, I can tell you. I mean, there's some scariness there to any Giants skill player right now. Golladay, probably the guy you want if you're going to pick a receiver. It's definitely the guy you want. I have zero knowledge of what his rapport will be with Daniel Jones, or if Daniel Jones will have a second to breathe this year with that offensive line, so that we can even see if they have an established rapport. So you're betting on that. Golladay and Jones haven't played a snap all preseason, and Galladay's barely been on the field because, wouldn't you know, with Golladay, he's nursing injuries already. So there's some question marks there, but there's some high upside point to it as well. You are taken down. Oh, and he goes Tevin Coleman. Let's throw it to Garcia. Talk about Tevin Coleman.
Familiar with that West Coast offense of the Jets that they're going to implement? The head coach and the offensive coordinator actually have some history with Tevin Coleman in their San Francisco days. So I got to think that they're going to need a veteran guy back there. I don't think he's going to be somebody that's going to be constantly out there. I know it's going to be probably a carousel, but I like the idea of having the knowledge of Tevin Coleman, having some familiarity with the offense. So I'm not looking for huge numbers, but when I need to fill a guy in, I think Tevin Coleman might be somebody that I can rely on for some stability as opposed to inactive and hurt my B division that I'm in. Every time you started talking about a Giant, I realized the fact that I really don't want a Giant on my roster. You're still waiting to pick.
Yeah,
although you should go with Sterling Shepard right now. It would behoove you to take him.
Yeah, no.
Because if he goes off the charts, I knew I had an opportunity to take him, and I passed on him. So it make it that much more enjoyable for you.
Really, I love drafting guys that are hurt. I love drafting guys that won't see the field for a very long time, and so that makes total sense as to what I just did with my next pick. Why not pick a guy that won't see the field for 6 to 8 weeks? At least I know this time, as opposed to where I was with JK. But I will be putting the IR spot to use very quickly this year in my 6th bench spot. I will tell you that with certainty.
You have an all-in.
Yeah, led by a guy who I said I wouldn't draft, who fell to me in the 5th round. At least I thought he fell. Who didn't actually fall? Who was unfortunately for me falling for a reason I did not see. So here's something else that was just pointed out to me. If you look at where Shipwreck has been. For years, Shipwreck has been a very running back focused squad. Now, obviously, they went running back heavy to start, so that's somewhat still par for the course. But if you look at their other players, and again, it's not certain that this is how he'll play, but he's got 4 receivers starting right now in his lineup. And judging by his bench, let me scroll through here. Yeah, he will be starting at least 4 receivers right now, unless he does something in the last few rounds to change that. So interesting. And I don't know, if that was necessarily a strategy going in. But it's interesting to me that ended up being his strategy, and he ends up having again, great running backs at the top with Najee and Jonathan Taylor, we think anyway. But an interesting running receiver focused draft really from then on out. So
I guess he just feels that confident with his RB1 and RB2.
he must. He absolutely must. And he's got.
But he feels extremely comfortable with Matthew Stafford as his quarterback. Although I like Matthew Stafford in an LA Rams offense than I do in a Detroit Lions offense. So, and I think at in the 8th round is a great value. So he'll get stability out of that.
Yeah, completely agree. And what's amazing about Najee and Jonathan Taylor about them is, like, at the end of the year, could we be talking about Najee and Jonathan Taylor both like top 5 running backs? Like, that's not a crazy world. So when you look at where he drafted them, 11 and 14, like, that's remarkable that you're still, after 9 running backs, that you're still drafting 2 guys that, like, I'm not saying, like, yes, everybody has the potential to break out, but, like, would I put a higher percentage chance on those 2 guys over a bunch of other guys that went before them and after them? Heck yeah, I would. So solid to me, for sure. Yeah. Who have we not?
It feels like Regulators is going so quick with his selection.
Well, when you know, and for him, he's got kind of a well, I love that he got Randall Cobb. I love that he got Randall Cobb because Regulators has had Randall Cobb. I want to say for all 10 seasons. It's not true, but it feels that way. So I love that he got him. Marlon Mack, Sony Michel. I mean, those are brand name handcuffs. We'll say Sony probably a little more valuable because I would assume some surefire snap percentage he'd get, barring injury to Henderson. Mack's a little uncertain because I think they still have Wilkins and Hines is still there. And so, Marlon Mack, though, is to me a good late round snag because, I doubt he'd have enough standalone value to start, but I think they like him. And I would not, like, honestly, again, I just told you Jonathan Taylor could be, a top 5 guy, and I believe that. On the other side, at the end of the year, could I see a world where Jonathan Taylor was like RB13 and Marlon Mack was like RB27? 100% yes, I could. Because I don't know what's up with the Colts, but they love this guy, and he's still young. He's coming back from an injury. I get that. But I don't know. It sure seems like they like him so much that they're going to probably work the guy in if he makes the team. Watch me say all this 2 days from now, we find out he was cut. But if he makes the team, I think it's an interesting pick.
Oh, man.
Let's see what else we got here. Well, let's talk about you because we really talked about you. For as much as we try to spread the love elsewhere, but let's talk about that Sanchez and Butthead draft that I'm going to go through now. Tyreek Hill, I was 51-49. I want to tell you on whether I was going to go Adams or Hill. I love Adams, but I also just like if you're looking for a guy that's going to win you a week. I'm not saying Adams can't too, but my goodness, Hill can just like throw you 40 points in the first half. So that's tough to say no to. So I love that. And the Hill-Diggs combo I love too. I think Diggs was a borderline, like, speaking of how close I had Adams and Hill in my rankings, I also had Diggs like right there at the 3rd spot. We talked about Dak, and then Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen fallen far, 31 years old. I get it. I get why people were a little lower on him, and everyone just assumes Justin Jefferson's taking over. But the rapport that Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen have, Adam Thielen was the wide receiver 1 like halfway through the year last year. So like, I also had him on my list this year. I thought he was a solid pick. So good for you.
Well, coming from you, that means absolutely nothing. But yeah, to your point, again, I went with the mindset of looking at all these offenses that people are predicting to put up. I think Diggs is the number 1 option for Buffalo. And then with Minnesota, obviously, Cook, you've got Jefferson, Irvin Smith. So there's a number of options there. But, yeah, I mean, there's seems to be that connection with him and Cousin that made me comfortable and I don't know, could be considered a reach to some degree. But, I felt like if I can get 3 top receivers, with James Robinson as my, top running back, considering the fact that, he's now going to be the number 1 lead back there. I felt in the first 4 rounds I was at least doing far better than what I did last year. So to me, that's progress. I feel like, I'm doing better than what I did last year. Then I went Dak with the quarterback. I thought he had been gone sooner. The man was on a tear last year before the leg rupturing. So he's got number of options to throw to. And I also look at his legs that he's, people are probably going to look at he's not going to run the ball much, but I think he's going to prove people otherwise. So he's got that big contract that he's got to live up to. So I expect big things out of that Dallas offense. And then just kind of going down the line, I needed another running back. Seemed like, you had a little bit of history with the Arizona team there last year with Drake and Edmonds. So now that Drake is in Las Vegas, I have more options to kind of rely on Edmonds. So there was that, and just started kind of plucking what guys I really felt might actually see some playing time and have.
Oh, lost you there at the end. There you go. You're back.
What you had last week.
Yeah, no.
What's that?
I'm sorry, I lost you there at the end. A little bit of breakup, but no, I think it's solid. I'm keeping my eye here on the clock because I will be almost up as you will too. We are in round 13. Round 13, just a couple rounds to go. Remember that we only have 15 rounds this year because we eliminated one of the bench spots. So we are one round shorter than we normally would be. Or do we only have 14 rounds?
If we can eliminate more bench spots, this thing would have been over sooner. That's something we might want to consider.
Hang on, I'm scrolling down to make sure that I'm not wrong. How many rounds? I think we have 15. Oh, no, crap. I'm wrong. We have 14 rounds.
14.
We had 15 rounds.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
we're nearing the finish line.
We're nearing.
I'm gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna say you're gonna take.
Well, I need to take a
Hunter Henry, tight end of the New England Patriots.
Yeah. Of course, my whole draft board has locked up on me, so that's great. So now I'm gonna have to go to the phone, try to make a draft decision there. So this is awesome.
Still some good quarterbacks available for you to grab before it's too late.
I'm trying
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, now this is amazing how bad that my signal has been. So please hold. You take your time.
I'm going to take my time. I do want to point out that we are at a stage of running backs of guys I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I mean, Salvin Ahmed, never heard of you, bro. Darrington Evans, never came across my research. I think Ty Johnson got his name recognized yesterday in the game against the Eagles, where he took out the safety. Let's see. I mean, a lot of cups still available for you.
Yes, that's true.
Us going back to back is really hard, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I mean, there he is. He took the cuff. So you clearly don't think Barkley's going to play the first 3 weeks when you make that selection.
If you had to ask me, which you did, and so I will say, I think Saquon. I was about to say that I wasn't going. I was going to say that he wasn't going to play. I think they really want him to play in week 1. That said, if you are hurting for a running back, like I may be, thank you, J.K. Dobbins. I think for the first few weeks, Booker has some standalone value, and then unfortunately, and as a Giants fan, I don't root for this. But where we're at with Saquon, Devontae Booker probably has than most other kind of high-profile handcuff guys. I am more certain that Devontae Booker will be the guy. They got rid of Wayne Gallman. They had actually brought in Alfred Morris. They already cut Alfred Morris. There really is only one guy that I think they trust. It's Devontae Booker, who has looked good in camp. And as a Giants fan, I hope that was a wasted pick. I really do. But I'm also fearful that it won't be. As a Giants fan, fantasy fan here in round whatever we're in, that's fine. But you may notice something. You may not care because I think you're on the clock. So you may not care right now. But what you may notice is that by picking that pick, I am one roster position short. I will not have fielded a full team by the end of this because I will have one position left. I still have not drafted a tight end. And Trey Lance is not walking through that week 1 door. So it looks like someone will be back on the waiver wire first to take the jump. And, I'm very excited about that.
I'm really not sure what you're talking about, dude.
I'm saying there's 1 round left. I don't have a starting quarterback or a tight end. So you do the math. That's what I'm saying. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Again.
What now?
Pick again, you want with Trey when you know he's not even like the quarterback yet.
Yeah, I mean, I have faith that he will be eventually. So, everybody just, it's going to be okay. I have a.
Well, watch my hand.
Oh, careful there. I had you, luckily not right there, so no one saw that. I've completely lost my desktop, so now I'm just going through the app. But for those that are currently still chatting up, join the convo on YouTube. If there are winners and losers to this draft that you'd like to comment on, save us from continuing to talk for another round, please do so, and we will share your thoughts for all four of you that are here. Who do you believe is won? Who do you believe is lost? What are the biggest surprises? Anything you want to throw out there? Well, the floor is yours. I'm going to try to log back into the website, but I am having the darndest time. So I can't go through rosters right now, unfortunately.
Let me see if I can get it. Everything was dying on me, hence my hand coming over the phone.
Well, understood. There was one. Sorry, there was one pick that I forget if I brought it up. I think I did because it was PTT. I think I mentioned it earlier in this live stream since we've had it back on. Mecole Hardman was high on my list this year. I think he has more standalone value than Sammy Watkins did in that offense based on the speed and based on the way that I think they'll use him. He is what we believe to be the wide receiver 2 in that offense now. And I think we'll find out. First of all, unmitigated potential if unfortunately your boy Tyreek gets hurt. Then it's at the Mecole Hardman show, and it's an amazing pick in the 8th or 9th round. But even if that does not happen, well, I'm just saying, we got to talk about it.
It's funny. My guy. It's my guy that has to get hurt.
I'm just saying that's one part of it. But the other part is I think Hardman will be a solid. I think he will win the job, so to speak. Even though he's already slotted in as a wide receiver 2, I think he will perform in a way that he has some standalone value. Not wide receiver 1 and 2, but I can't look at it now. I think he's like his flex 2. I think he will return flex 2. I had him as my wide receiver 29 this year, actually. I have it right here. And there you go. That to me is flex land, like high flex land. So flex 2, which I think is where he took him, maybe even flex 3. Really good value, I think. Thoughts for you? Carl said Ian won that.
Have we talked about your team?
Well, no, we haven't. We can. Do you want me to go through anything? Do you have questions other than JK? Don't talk about JK.
Let's talk about Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm not high on Jacobs where I drafted him last year. But I'm high on him as a 4th round pick. For
the first round, the 4th round.
I'm hopeful to have a slew of good receivers this year. We'll find out if that is true. But my hope was give me one running back. I didn't intend to draft JK, LOL, because I was going to continue to go to receivers after that. But my hope was give me one running back that I feel will return RB15. Like that was the point value I was looking for. And I think Jacobs will. I think Kenyon Drake is, a worthy RB2. But everything I've read, and again, I'll probably be wrong, but everything I've read is that Kenyon Drake is still the change of pace guy there. Josh Jacobs is still the lead. Kenyon Drake will have some value, but this is not a 50-50 situation. Josh Jacobs is the guy. And if you believe Josh Jacobs is the guy, and you can get a 60-40 guy in a run-centric offense in the 4th round, he was RB9 last year. What are we talking about? So you got RB9 in the 4th round. James Robinson is another one. I'm going to try to scroll through here. If someone knows off the top of their head, please let me know because it's tough for me to see it here. Oh, there we go. James Robinson, 3rd round to you. Oh, you should be. Why am I looking for James Robinson when you could be telling me? James Robinson was he RB5, 6, 7, something like that last year? He might have been a top 5 running back. He now is the guy there because your boy got hurt. You got him in the 3rd round. This guy's an RB5 or 6, and their offense was off. Well, their offense was up and down. I think their offense will be at least as good this year, and you literally just took the guy that is the main guy there and who was RB5 or 6 or 7 last year in the 3rd round. How is that not valuable? I didn't have James Robinson particularly high, But you sit there at the third round. How is that not valuable? Yeah, exactly. So good for you. I'm giving you a compliment, and I'm glad you're not paying attention to me because I'm giving you a compliment about it.
Oh man.
Oh, you're on the clock, so
I'm ready to pick.
I'll give you a little.
What's all aboard the bus?
I'll tell you something. I think I'm still figuring out whether I'm going to keep the quarterback spot open right now or the tight end spot open. I don't know for sure, but I think you might be surprised.
I mean, neither one has much impact on the team, if you ask me.
Ooh, crap. Well, if my guy was oh no, he wasn't. I have the most random guy for you that I like this year at tight end that I'll probably just snag because, again, I think I'll probably want to have a tight end to start the season. Probably ideal. I don't know. It's possible. And then just, look to stream because there's still some, wow. Yeah. I mean, what's amazing about this, and I know you can't fully pay attention because you're on the clock, so I can say anything I want right now. Let me go ahead and take my tight end that you've never heard of. And then I will continue to tell you all about my feelings. Where is this guy? It's never good when you have to scroll this far.
I'm looking forward to who you're going to select.
Wait, did you just take?
Oh,
you gotta be kidding me! You have got to be kidding me! That is such absolute garbage! How is that possible? You never take things from me. I respect you so little that I never thought you would take him from me.
Yeah. That's the way to end. That's the way to end the draft. I knew you were talking about him. I'm like, you must be talking about this guy too. Why don't you get to quarterback now? Joe Burrow is available. Baker, Trevor Lawrence.
That's effed, man.
Sam Arnold.
That's 100% effed in so many different ways. I am so unhappy that I guess.
You want me to trade?
Yeah, I do. That's really messed up. That's really messed up. I
think you just pass.
Please hold. You talk. I'll put it on you.
I will talk. The guy that you are so hurt about now, he was included in the trade for Julio, wasn't he? Or he was in the trade with Julio.
I think it's a solid.
One or the other.
He's going to be good this year. I think he's going to be good this year. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm surprised he was that low on the quote unquote.
I thought nobody else was even. I really didn't even think anyone was on him. Yeah.
But I can see at least 50 receptions for him. A couple of touchdowns. I'll take that.
No, I
don't know how often I'll put.
I tend to agree with you, and just kind of upping my all injured squad. Why not take Hunter Henry too? Wow, that's messed up. I got to tell you something, and this is. I'm sure you're going to enjoy what I'm about to say because you could just put it on a wall. I am so disappointed by this draft. I was so excited today. And now I'm not. And now I'm not even looking forward to this year. So thank you for that. It's not just your fault. JK in the 5th round is really what's probably going to set me most over the edge. But I didn't think anybody wanted that guy, and I hope that he ends up being a nothing. But I like him a lot this year, and so thank you for ruining my draft. And now the floor is yours to say whatever else you want.
Listen, I love the fact that you want Trey Lance, and he hasn't been named the starter. But that tells me you know something that we don't know. I will laugh if Garoppolo gets the starting job and keeps the starting job. Your distaste for quarterbacks is one that just kind of makes me wonder if you know the object of the game, because last year you would have been better off taking Matthew Stafford.
I believe in Trey Lance, and we can find this tape later, and you can. I told you he's QB5. You want to know? Well, so Matthew Stafford was QB9 for me this year. If you'd like to know, and if you're interested, now that we're just having this conversation as the draft is running down low, I had Dak as QB3. I think I was telling you that. So we'll see. And again, it's adjusted for games played. So obviously that's a thing to be considered. But I think Trey Lance will win the job eventually. It's just a matter of time. I hate to say this, kind of root for injury, even if Jimmy Garoppolo plays. his track record suggests even if he's playing well, he's not going to be in there very long. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. But final thoughts as we wind down.
Super Bowl, right?
What'd you say? Yeah, he got them to a Super Bowl. Yeah, they like him so much that they went and drafted a guy who has not played in a year as their quarterback, third overall. That's how much they believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. Winding down.
You got to look big history. You can't just look, at the open window. You got to look beyond.
This guy is saying best of luck this season to me, and I hate the team I drafted. Yeah.
Is it over?
It's over.
It's over.
So give me. I mean, okay. I think. Well, I already have you. I've already picked my winner of this draft. But would you like to pick yours before we wrap this up? Winner of the draft, the team you like the.
Wait, you gave Sweet Home Chicago the crown?
I think I will. I'm going to look at it one more time while you tell me what you will pick.
Well, I'd like to just give one more look over before I hand the crown. Let's see.
I'm going to give you someone different, actually. I'm going to give you someone different.
I'm going to...
Take your time.
No, I'm going to go... Yeah, I mean, it's the two teams that I kind of believe are going to be in the hunt from start to finish, and one of them is going to be crowned. But I will say Waverman and Sweet Home get a 1A, 1B. So it's a toss-up between those two. I just like Waverman's first three more than I like, even though Sweet Home got Zeke in his lap. Kamara, Metcalf, and Jefferson, and then the quarterback situation. Mark Andrews was a good pickup by Sweet Home, but Russell Wilson versus Ryan Tannehill, I'd say that the edge goes there to Carl. DeAndre Swift, not so much. Heavy Seattle. Some reaches. The first three, I give the nod to Waverman. Sweet Home number two. PTT had himself a day.
Interesting that you say.
When you look at it, because
I don't mind it. I don't mind. It's funny because he went quarterback early, so it makes it kind of tough for me to pick PTT because that's a tough one for me. The value you give up by doing that. But you want to look down that list. I mean, you can't say, okay, forget about draft round now. Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. You got an issue with that? Derrick Henry is your running back one. You got an issue with that? Miles Sanders is your RB2. Some people have an issue with that, but not bad. Where you get into a little bit is Godwin and Juju. Okay. George Kittle's your tight end. You got a problem with that? Corey Davis as your flex one. I might be just higher on Corey Davis. I got no problem with that. If Mostert wins the job, that will be the one that really probably pulls that lineup across. But I like Hardman, who's on his bench right now. And, St. Brown, maybe there's some Trojan bias here. I think there's something maybe interesting about him. I think there could be some value in Detroit there from a receiver standpoint, but I'm reaching now. So PTT for me is the surprise one I'll give you, where, no, I'm not going to name him best, necessarily my favorite, but I'm gonna give him an honorable mention. The next guy I'm going to give you, I think, maybe let's go 3, 2, 1. I think 3, I'm going to put Regulators, and I reserve the right to move him up. I think I'm going to put him at 3. Again, let's just go through it. Jackson at quarterback. You got an issue with that. Dalvin, QB, RB1. No. A.J. Brown and Keenan Allen as your receivers. Hawkinson even at tight end, you could argue, is fine. Mike Davis, we're not sure of, but there's opportunity there. Galladay, Mooney, and Thomas. Those are all guys we don't know. But if you want to talk about guys that have been there before, Galladay and Thomas, there's value there. And then from like a handcuff central situation, I think Sony and Marlon were brand name ones. I called them that earlier. But brand name handcuffs that could end up returning value. So I will put him at 3 right now. I think I haven't looked at Gronk much. Let me see what I'm... Gronk, if JK is done for the year, I would elevate Gronk with Gus Edwards there in his flex. That's a chance he took, and a right one to take, judging by the fact the guy was carted off. Right one to take. But I'm not. I'm gonna kind of skip over that one. I think I'm gonna put Waverman 2. I do think. It's close. Again, I have no issue with Russell. I have no issue with Kamara. I'm not as high on Swift, but Metcalf and Jefferson is balling. Lockett, you got to love. Love the tight end. Chase and Fuller are high upside to me. Not sure if they're going to be anything, but I like that one. So I'm going to give you, and then let me look at Ship one more time because I feel like I'm discounting him too. I don't mind. I'm just not as high on Amari Cooper. I think that's my one issue drawing me back there. But Ayuk and Claypool is tough to argue against. Najee and Jonathan Taylor too. I think I'm going to still say though, number one to me, I think I still want to say is probably Sweet Home. If Odell comes through and is something, let me try to give you my cases as him for the best draft. I mean, obviously Tannehill's kind of a streamer, but a very like high, like this guy is like in the top 10 quarterbacks like every year. So he's a plug and play quarterback. I don't mean to say he's a streamer. Zeke, no issue. Montgomery, I have no issue with it, particularly where he drafted him, and I think he's a solid RB2. Hopkins, no issue. Evans, again, wide receiver 2, though. Remember, wide receiver 2. Andrews, no issue. Beckham, we don't know yet. In his flex 2 and flex 3, now here's where I think there's a difference here. Because not a lot of people have this. Just think about it this way. In his flex 2, he has a clear lead running back. Now, I don't know for sure where the Patriots are going to net out. I do know they shipped Sony away. And Damian Harris is 100% the lead guy there. Will Cam take scores away from him? Probably. But he's the lead guy there. He's in his flex 2. Brandon Cooks. We can make all kinds of jokes about the Houston Texans. There is only one receiver there. It is Brandon Cooks. If Deshaun Watson plays, that is an amazing steal. And even if he doesn't, explain to me how Brandon Cooks doesn't get 120 targets this year. Who else are they throwing to? So and then this is not even counting on his bench. Jacoby Myers, who I'm very high on. Kenyon Drake, who I don't know a lot of standalone value, but if Josh Jacobs gets hurt, boom, plug and play, brand name handcuff there. I think I'm going to say Sweet Home Chicago, but I feel like I'm shortchanging a couple other guys that I do like as well. Like I said, I liked Ships as well, so it's tough for me. But if you're going to ask me today, I'm going to give it to Sweet Home Chicago. And that's what I got. What do you got? Anything else for you before we end this thing?
Minus the technical difficulties, I thought this was a great draft.
Minus the tech, and minus the lack of ability to notice players that are getting hurt today. Otherwise, it was a great draft. Thank you, guys. And if you want to hear more, well, text me or call me right now because I probably won't be sleeping for a while because of the anger I have inside. Garcia out on the West Coast, thank you as always for what you do, putting up with a live stream that you guys probably think, well, what's he doing out there? Well, he's got to put up with a live stream where he has no idea what's happening. Like I see the screen, you see the screen. He never sees the graphics. He never sees where I'm going next. So kudos to him for being able to play like he does in the ways that he does. I missed this. There was the question of analyzing WB's team. I'm sorry, we're not done yet. Because we are being asked to analyze WB's team. Garcia, do you have anything before I get there?
I thought with me just mentioning the Kansas City 1 and 2 kind of basically gave you my impression of what I thought.
Okay, so okay, all right, that's the thing. All right, let's talk about this for a second. Let's just try to break it down. Josh Allen at QB, I've got no issue with. I think you took Josh Allen earlier, or maybe that was Kyler that went earlier. Yeah, apologies.
I think PTT had him last year.
No, I know he did. I'm just saying I forget where Josh Allen went. I guess just kidding. It's right here, 4-8. Yeah, okay, I'm good with that. So Clyde is your RB1, Hunt is your RB2. In that situation, you're going to really hope then, if I scroll through, that you're going to see some really ballin' receivers because there's a little bit of concern with that. And then you go to Robinson and Sutton. I like Robinson. Robinson's going to have 130 targets, 150 probably this year. Justin Fields plays maybe a little bit less, but assuming he'll still have good value. Sutton I have no idea about. Kelsey is lock and load. The issue for him is going to be in his flexes. Antonio Brown, maybe. Curtis Samuel, I'm just not as high on Washington skill players, not named Terry McLaurin. And then James Conner. That's probably a tough one because we think Chase Edmonds will probably be the guy there. The tough one, Chief to start. A bold strategy, Cotton. Would you say so, Garcia? Bold strategy. Where do you rank him? Are you low on him? Are you high on him?
I think Yeah, I mean, I got no problems with Allen. I got no problems with Kelsey. Fifth overall, I get it. He should be considered like a wide receiver one to some degree. The running back situation, I think, is a little murky. I think he makes it up in some of the receivers, but it's. I mean, when I'm putting the 1 through 12, I think there's you, and then there's wristbands.
I endorse that pick. Although Greatest Show on Paper, I think we want to talk, since there's still people on the stream, so they clearly care. I think we want to get to Greatest Show on Paper in a second. I want to pivot quickly to Cincinnati, though, because we haven't talked about this. I talked about it earlier. I don't know how many people were on. 3 Cincinnati Bengals on that roster right now. And I don't necessarily the funny thing about that, every round he drafted them in, I really had no issue with. I wasn't as high on Mixon, I guess. That's the one thing. But most people had Mixon in that range, so I'll just eat that and just assume that I'm wrong. Higgins, 5th round, and Tyler Boyd in the 7th. I don't hate any of them. The problem I have is you can't possibly return your weekly value by having 3 Bengals, unless you think their offense is going to be legendary. He also has a double stack here with Fant and Williams. From a Denver perspective, I don't know how great their offense will be. Let's talk about the good, though. Kyler, great. Aaron Jones, great. CeeDee Lamb, I think the best Cowboy to have. And I don't know what Shenault will be this year, but if you think Jacksonville is going to be decent, that's not a problem. I also just noticed he also has Burrow as his QB, as his other QB, which is amazing. Any thoughts on Cincinnati? I want to get to Greatest Show on Paper, but any thoughts on Cincinnati?
Yeah, when you stack it, I'm of the believer when you're going to stack teams, you're going to want to make sure that you're stacking guys that, like the Vikings, like the Cowboys. I mean, it's just I worry about sometimes when you're just stacking just because you stack, and the Bengals stack isn't one I would put on my list, so that's concerning. But maybe his philosophy is like, well, if one guy's not doing well, but the other one is, he can just kind of switch him out and not worry about trying to find somebody else to replace. He at least has that plan B already on his roster. Nothing wrong with Aaron Jones. Joe Mixon, you just don't know what you're going to get. We're both in agreement on Lamb, solid. Murray, certainly expect bigger things this year. Don't be surprised with Jacksonville players, again, with Myers' offensive system, and I think it's the former Dolphins coordinator who has a lot of history with some of these players. So there's something to be said about that. Obviously, you got the cup with
yeah.
Much more people are expecting him to be the rookie of the year on offense. I guess he loves Cincinnati so much that not only the name but obviously the players. So, So I think we have to dive more into all four of us after Greatest Show on Paper, and I think that covers everyone.
We will, for those that want to stay. I will also say I didn't notice. I'm scrolling through ships. I didn't notice he snagged Madison 14th round. That might have been the last round. I'm surprised Madison didn't go sooner. Now again, I mean it's a handcuff, right? Like you're sitting there hoping. Well, I don't want to say you're hoping for injury, but you're sitting there thinking the only value is if Cook goes down. But Cook unfortunately has a history of getting nicked up, and that is I'm impressed. I didn't realize he fell as far as he did. We can talk more about Ship. It sounds like you want to talk about all the baby bus. I'm going to go to Greatest Show on Paper, who I loved the beginning of their draft. Chubb. No issue at as your RB1. I mean, again, going into tonight. Well, let me not say going into tonight. A few weeks ago, if I had said to you, Chubb, Saquon in a 12-team league are their RB1, RB2, you're like, how? And again, it's because Saquon, one guy slipped, and it was Saquon. And if Saquon is anything close to what he was in 2018, 2nd round, 4th overall, incredible. Chubb, Barkley, no issue. And I don't have an issue with Hurts either. I think there's a very good chance he's a breakout quarterback. So let's move over him too. He might be the guy. I'm not as high on DJ Moore, personally. I don't know what to expect in Carolina's offense, and this is like a very rudimentary argument that I'm about to throw at you. But I know that Robbie Anderson just got paid, and I know that Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson played together. So I had Robbie Anderson over DJ Moore, which I know you're just like, that's crazy, right? Because DJ Moore, what did they draft in the 4th round? So it's crazy for someone to have Robbie Anderson, who I think I got in like the 7th. I had Robbie Anderson higher, just because I feel like I know more about what their rapport is. So TBD on some of that. Jerry Jeudy, I think with Teddy Bridgewater, it's still a jump, but I can see it. I think he could be one of those guys that has a leap year 1 to year 2. The tight end, whatever. I like Gaskin. Again, who's not in a committee at this point? What do you draft him in? Third round? Yeah. I mean, everyone's in a committee by then. I don't know about Waddle or Sermon. Those are high upside guys. I think that the concern I probably have with Greatest Show on Paper, there's a lot. I just said upside a lot. And you make fun of me for saying interesting a lot. Well, I just said upside a lot. On the bench, too, Callaway, good snag, I think. High upside guy because he had that great preseason game rapport with Jameis. Maybe he's the guy there. Maybe he has one preseason game. We never hear from him again. So I think for Greatest Show on Paper, there's some volatility. There is a chance that we are going to look back and say this is the best roster in OTP. Or there's a chance that all those guys don't return the upside we hope. And then they don't. Your thoughts?
I would concur. He certainly scored well with Chubb, and he could boom big time with Barkley. And then Gaskins is formidable lead back. The receivers don't really scare me, and that's again based off of what we've seen in the past. Judy had a rough year last year. It'll be interesting to watch that running back situation with the Niners, if it's going to be Mozart or Sermon, and then he's going to have a tough call to make when it comes to the quarterback situation, because I just don't know if Justin Fields is going to be, named the starting quarterback. And Jalen, I know you believe in him, but something just tells me otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at the reports and people are saying that it hasn't been a great camp. But some of that stuff, again, like, it's all noise to me because sometimes it means something and other times it doesn't. I still like Jalen a lot. If I didn't have my Eagles bias, Jalen would have been on my list. I was surprised that, they went Fields as well. But, excuse me, we're on a live stream here? What? No, we're still talking. I'll eat the dinner in a second. Right? No, did you not feed her dinner? No, you got to do that too. Okay, we're back. Don't worry, live television. So I want to shift to All Aboard the Baby Bus quickly. You know how I felt about Eckler. So by the way, since now we're just having funsies time, Austin Eckler. I forget if I said this on the broadcast before. Austin Eckler was my RB16. I am super low on Eckler because I don't think that I have seen him be an RB1 all year. I don't know that he can put up 17 games worth of value. I don't know if he's even going to be the red zone guy. I don't know enough yet. I might be wrong on him. I also wasn't super high on Antonio Gibson, I'll be honest. But again, these are probably minority opinions. I love Cooper Kupp. I was going to probably take both Rams receivers. I am so high on the Rams. I think Ship went Stafford. I don't remember where he got him. I think we go back to Ship's lineup because I seem to continue to say things about Ship's lineup that I'm liking, and I don't think I ranked him high enough because I think Matthew Stafford is a guy that could easily be, breakout quarterback this year, finally in an offense that suits him. So love Cooper Kupp. Kyle Pitts, we'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of hope around him. I think with All Aboard the Baby Bus, is Devonta Smith gonna be anything? Rookie wide receivers, right? Like, okay, it's a wide receiver too. Fournette. Is he going to be playoff Lenny, or is he going to be what he was in the regular season? I wasn't as high on Henderson as everybody else. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to tell you what they're going to do in that backfield. All I know is that Darrell Henderson has not won the job for 2 years, and I know that he couldn't even beat Malcolm Brown last year. So maybe he's the guy, but don't tell me you know that with certainty, especially since they felt compelled to trade for Sony Michel. So they clearly can't feel that strongly about Darrell Henderson. And I like Michael Pittman. Trojan, good for him. I think he could take a leap, but I also have no idea what his rapport is with Carson Wentz. So, again, one thing, and I'm talking a lot. I'll throw it to you in a second. One thing that I do think is clear. Everybody's lineup has holes, right? It's such a deep lineup. Every time we scroll through, we get to the flex 2, flex 3, and we're like, because we just don't know. So that happens a lot. So it's not to say I'm not trying to criticize. It's just, yes, there's going to be gaps in everybody's lineups because we're so deep. But thoughts on All Aboard the Baby Bus, and then maybe a shipwreck shift next. But thoughts are All Aboard the Baby Bus?
I'll just go back to the first 2 picks, especially the first one. I just don't know. I guess if it was me, I wouldn't have made that trade, knowing the fact that, those top 4 or 5 running backs were there for the taking. So he obviously is higher on Eckler than you and I and others. But, I don't know. For me, it's just the first two rounds kind of go, and I thought he was going to go. I honestly thought he was going to pick somebody like, I don't know, Mahomes or something in that second round. Knowing what he's done in the past, he's a big believer. I think in the quarterbacks play a huge role. But he all aboard the baby bus always surprises. Starts off slow, and then he's in the midst of things, and he's contending. So who are we to question what he's doing? The man, But I like Herbert. I like Kupp along with you. I get where you come from, and Anderson. Same with Fournette. Not sure what the running back situation is in Tampa, so maybe he's got the lead back, or maybe I do. Pittman, I guess, I don't know much about the Colts other than their running back situation. The one thing about Gage, and even with Ridley, and not to knock on you, it's, Julio is no longer there, so does that put more emphasis on these guys and defensively, where now they don't have to worry about Julio? So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. And then I think the other thing, too, is just, it's why carry two quarterbacks, people? Why?
This is coming from. So I don't even have one. So you're right. Why carry two? I don't know. It's a good question. Yes, and I agree with you. Let me shift though to Ship, because it's interesting. I can give you a case for Ship's lineup to be a top 2, we'll say, drafted lineup. Are you ready for my case for that? Because I'm going to give it to you whether you want it or not. Matthew Stafford, we talked about this, high upside, like in the sense of like, here's a guy that will be a top 10. Like I will bet you on this live stream that if Matthew Stafford stays healthy, he is absolutely at least a top 10 quarterback. So bar no issue there other than injury. Also, if we think the Rams offense, I have the Rams. If you're going to ask me who I think is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, I have the Rams. I think Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are going to have remarkable years. So if you think that, you kind of have to think Matthew Stafford. The only issue with Matthew Stafford is the legs in fantasy. Doesn't propel you to have usually like 40-point weeks like you can get with some of these other guys. But Matthew Stafford, great. Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris, I said this on the live stream. Not sure how many people were on when I said this. At the end of the year, could you see both of them as top 5 running backs? 100%. Najee Harris is going to have 300-plus touches. And I messed this up, and I don't know the stat, but it's like there's been one running back who's had that level of touches in fantasy and hasn't been like a top 12 guy. I don't know the number, but the point is he's a lock and load with usage, and the upside is insurmountable. Jonathan Taylor was the top 5 running back last year. And I have been throwing hate at Jonathan Taylor all offseason. I am probably spiteful based on my season last year with him. But he is 100% a guy that could easily be. So you have 2 running backs that could both be top 5. You have a quarterback that could be top 5. McLaurin, as I like to call him, people are very high on. And let me give you the counter for Cooper, because I had said at one point about how I like CeeDee Lamb better, I'll be honest with you. But who cares about winning weeks? Greatest show on paper just won a Super Bowl at 6-7. They were 3-6 last year. The best team in OTB was 6-7. Winning games is meaningless in a league where all you have to do is have a certain amount of points, right? So I forget where I had Amari Cooper. Let's say that he's wide receiver 15, which would impute 190 points at the end of the year. It doesn't matter if he scores 20 points one week or 2 the next in our league. If you think he will score 190 points on your way to, let's say, 1,500 to make the playoffs this year, then he's fine. And so Amari Cooper, who cares if he scores 2 one week and 20 the next? I would say the same thing about Chase Claypool, who may have a 3-point week and a 34-point week. And when you need to win in fantasy, I 100% understand why that matters. However, I don't think it matters in this league, because all you need to do is have a certain amount of points. Ayuk, I'm not sure about. I liked Debo more. I drafted him, so I guess I should. But if you're judging by last year, Ayuk's the guy to have, so I could very well be wrong. By the way, George Kittle wasn't even involved last year, so Ayuk and Debo may not even be anything this year. We'll find out. And hey, Melvin Gordon, as a guy who drafted a running back too early last year that I thought would win a job that never did, Melvin Gordon's still the lead guy there, guys. So Melvin Gordon, still a guy who is going to be the 60% guy and maybe more. We don't know Javonte Williams is going to win that job, just like we didn't know J.K. was going to win the job. Eventually he did last year, but Mark Ingram was the guy for 8 weeks. So there's my defense on Shipwreck as one of the best drafted teams. Your thoughts on any of this?
In terms of Melvin Gordon, I do think, though, that there's a little bit of a running back competition there, and I think they're leaning more towards Javonte Williams, if I remember correctly. So that's one that I'm not too thrilled if I was to have him, and a lot of unknowns with that Denver offense. I guess, yeah. I mean, it goes back him and Greatest on paper, a lot of upside, as we've said, to where it could a lot of boom potential. I don't think so much bust, but definitely a lot of boom. A nice little tandem. He really protected himself well in his first 5 rounds and 6 rounds, really, with the receivers after that. And and Stafford is a solid QB. He was on my list of QBs to look at. So,
Yep.
Maybe it shifts here, man. Maybe it shifts here.
Well, we picked him, or I picked him. To begin the year, or begin the draft, I said he was my team this year, and I feel good about that pick after this draft. We don't know what we don't know, but that's how we feel. Closing thoughts. You want to pick one more team before we call it, or you want to call it?
What other teams can we talk about other than yours and mine?
I don't want to talk about mine, probably, and there's that. But we could talk about Gronk, I guess. We haven't talked about Gronk at all, and then we'll call it a day, perhaps. Gronk, since we're at that point where we're just sharing feelings, I don't really like it. But here's the thing: I like it a lot more if Gus Edwards unfortunately J.K. is RIP this year. Ouch. Then I like it a lot more because Gus Edwards is a plug and play, probably RB2-ish. I think they'll still have some committee and some guys we've never heard of will play, but Gus Edwards 100% is the guy there. I mean, let's not gloss over. You've got the MVP Aaron Rodgers, great. You've got C-Mac and Carson. I love Carson, and obviously C-Mac, so there's no issue there. Julio Jones is your wide receiver 1. It's a little concerning to me. Deontay Johnson, good. Maybe he's actually your wide receiver 1. It's just flipped the other way. I wasn't as high on Waller this year, so maybe that was just me. I didn't have him as tight end 2 like everybody else did, and I don't like T.Y. Hilton and Jarvis Landry. I think the thing that's hurting me most is I don't like T.Y. Hilton or Jarvis Landry. I don't think they have anything other. I think they're like wide receiver 35 and 36 at the end of this year. So maybe that's what's keeping me from saying better things, and I don't see anything on the bench that like jumps out at me unless Clyde gets hurt and Darrell Williams ends up being the guy there. But again, far be it from me to criticize drafts. At least none of his guys were carted off the field tonight. Thoughts?
Thoughts are, I think Waller's a reach in the second round. Too early for me. He could have gone, looking at how everything played out, his wide receiver core seemed a little light. So I think that's something that he could have waited longer on the tight end situation, especially when you had Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, all available still in that 3rd round. I'm fine with Carson. You could have taken Carson in the 2nd round, and then on the snake, just get one of those 4 or 5 receivers that were available and leave Waller to, down the road. To me, it just if he even got Kittle, I'd be like, okay, but yeah, I'm not really sure that the interest in Waller, the quarterback situation. Yeah, you've got yourself 2 bona fide starting quarterbacks. So is that some leverage they may have that he might need to bolster the roster down the road, and somebody needs a quarterback like yourself? That's a great possibility. I don't know what of yours is worth trading for, but
that's a tough one though.
Yeah.
Look, we saw
T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah,
I don't love Nelson Aguilar. Zach Ertz. He might be cut when this show's over.
He might be cut or traded. I think you're right. Yeah, and the tough part with the quarterback, like you mentioned, if you're Greatest Show on paper, actually, weirdly, as much as I just bashed having 2 of those quarterbacks, I could see a world where Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts explodes, and because of their legs, they become very interesting trade assets. It's tough for me to see Brady as that. Like, Rodgers will be fine. Start him every week. I had Brady last year. I think Brady finished like QB7. So I have no issue with Brady, but like Brady's not a tradable asset in the sense that he's not going to like explode week to week enough for you to feel like, oh, I want him for sure. You probably have a better chance just seeing what's on. Just look at the quarterbacks on the waiver wire right now. Like, it tells me everything you need. Like when you were asking, do you need to start 2 quarterbacks? Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, even Zach Wilson, but Ben Roethlisberger, Jimmy Garoppolo, the starter. Even Trevor Lawrence, Teddy Bridgewater, Tua. Why carry 2? Like, why carry 2? I'm not saying that all those guys are going to dominate, but like, I have no issue right now with Trey Lance as not obviously my starter to start the year, and like there could be a run on waiver wire quarterbacks, and I could still find like 3 guys I'd feel fine with at week 1. So I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary unless you have a purpose. GSOP, you may disagree with what he did. I don't know that I agree with it, but I see, okay, I'm going to take 2 very buzzworthy quarterbacks. If one pops, then I'm golden. If they both pop, there is trade value there. That's my.
I mean, the pendulum of where you got guys taking 2 and you really
Not taking any.
taking none. So, you got to find the middle. You got to find the middle.
You got to find the middle. That's undoubtedly true. Well, thank you guys for putting up with this. Again, apologies that we couldn't do this the entire draft. I'm glad that some of you will end up staying with us for this portion of it. We wanted to do this during the entire draft. Really tough to do while we're drafting, as well as obviously the Wi-Fi alone.
Even when we're not doing the show, we're still draft bad. So it's a toss-up.
It is 100% a toss-up. Thank you to Garcia, who drove like 2 hours to get to good Wi-Fi today. Was it 2 hours?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half for.
It was worth it.
Only for me to say, these are the things I'm going to talk about, and you can figure out what you want to talk about. So no big deal. That's my way of sharing show plans. Appreciate you guys.
It's just an honor to be here and be in your presence and talk. While I continue to drink.
I significantly doubt that. We will be back, I'm sure. I don't know what our video plan is this year, but hopefully we will have a good one. And, obviously waiver wire opens probably tomorrow. And remember that it's a FOB situation. So you're obviously going to put the free agent dollars towards it. There's no waiver wire priority. Also remember, even though no one's listed as IR yet, you have a reserve spot. So if one of the players, like J.K. Dobbins, is going to be out for a while, and you're not sure you're going to drop him, remember you can slot him in eventually when he's called IR. You can put him in that reserve spot. Garcia on the West Coast, Sidebar on the East Coast. Thank you again, guys. Happy waiver wiring for the next couple weeks. We'll see you week 1.